Welcome back to 9 Hours, 9 Persons, 9 Doors. The title of which I get wrong every single time I describe it to someone. But we're not here to talk about titles. We're here to continue. They stepped out of the kitchen and into a hallway that looked rather familiar. A metal grate stretched from wall to wall. Beyond it were two elevators and the entrance to the kitchen. They had entered the kitchen from one door and come out the other. That meant their map of the ship's interior was accurate. They laid the map out in front of them and began to discuss their next step. There were four possible routes: A, B, C, and D. First, A and B. A and B both seemed to connect to an L-shaped room. However, the two doors that led to the room were both locked and could not be opened. Next was Route C. This goes all the way to the main staircase. That means it's door 5, one of the numbered doors. Then do you think we would meet up with the other 4 after this hallway? No, I don't think we will. Why not? Look, there by the stairs. See how the gate is opened? When we went into the kitchen, it was closed. But it's open now. What do you think that means? They opened it. Most likely. Then if we take Route C, we're going backwards. That would be pointless. Okay, I think I'm figuring this out. What they mean is the group who went through the 4-door, we went through the 5-door. The group that went through the 4-door must have opened this gate somehow. So if we go back that way, we'll be going back the way they had already come. And that would be pointless. Then that means all 4 looked at the map. They all looked at the staircase, its lazy curve leading down, deeper into the ship. Route D, then. D it is. Yep, Route D. Then we're set. They jogged down the stairs until they reached the C deck. Took Route D to the C. Just to be sure, they kept going to check the deck beneath. Yeah, just like I thought. Deck D is totally underwater. Just like the bottom of the central staircase. The water gazed back at them, its smooth surface like a great mirror. As ominous as it was, Junpei took at least some comfort from the fact that the level hadn't gone up much since the last time he'd seen it. They turned back to C deck. It didn't take them long to find the 2 elevators in front of the stairs. They looked identical to the elevators on the top floor, with one exception. These elevators had a card reader on the wall between them. On the card reader was a strange mark. Hey look, it's Lotus's symbol. Huh? See, it's the woman's symbol with a thorn on it. That seems like... I might have just gotten slapped. Yep. Ouch, 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 ouch. Lotus had taken hold of Junpei's hair. She began to shake him violently, and he thought he heard a low growl coming from her throat. Such violence. Junpei began to wonder if she was not the devil itself. With an uncomfortable smile, Jun spoke up. This is a Mercury symbol. The thorn symbolizes the wings on Hermes' staff. Hermes, herpes, whatever. If we can't get this thing to work, these elevators aren't going anywhere. In other words, we need a key card with the Mercury symbol on it. Probably. They gave up on the elevator and returned to the stairs. A hallway stretched out to the left. A great many doors lined both sides of the hallway. They weren't sure how many, but certainly enough to be discouraging. Damn it! We try and search all these, the sun's gonna go down before we've done half of them. I think the sun's already set. I have a feeling this ship is the only thing that's going to be going down anytime. Nope, that's me. I have a feeling this ship is the only thing that's gonna be going down anytime soon. That's even worse. Well, we can come back to this hallway later. Let's check the hallway on the other side, shall we? Frustration and fear building, they walked back to the stairs. To their right was a small hallway. Quickly, they headed into it. It was approximately the same size as the alcove in front of the stairs. The hallway led toward the stern, and at its end was a set of double doors. Let's open it. Junpei nodded and grabbed the one closest to him. He gave it a small tug and felt it move. It was unlocked. Thrilled to have found an unlocked door, he threw it open. Yes, he did. Junpei didn't know what to make of what he saw. Neither did Jury. He simply stood, unable to speak. The others simply stared, open-mouthed. After a few long moments, Santa managed to speak. What the hell is this? A massive room stretched out in front of them, more a cavern than a room. Its vastness was oppressive, and it bore down on the four companions. It was not empty, however. The entire room was filled with lines upon lines of beds. They were simple things, little more than pipe and thin mattresses. Is this a hospital? He had at last been able to put a name to the harsh scent that pervaded the room. The room swam with the harsh, biting smell of antiseptic. In the center of the room were shelves stacked with medicine and a number of medical devices, the function of which Junpei did not know. More importantly, however, on the back wall of the room were 4 doors. 3 of them were emblazoned with large, single-digit numbers made with thick red paint. The door on the left was labeled 3. The second door from the left had no number, but the third had been given a 7. And the rightmost door had an 8. There could be no doubt. They were numbered doors. It did strike Junpei as strange, however, that the door between 3 and 7 should be blank. What, he wondered, could it mean? Let's take a look at the doors. Yes, that sounds like a good plan. Junpei headed toward the doors, weaving his way between the beds. He started with door 3 on the left, and moved to the right until he reached door 8. Oh. It's no use. Well, of course. If it was that easy to open these doors, what would be the point of the Nonary Game? We have to activate the red or the numbers doors won't... Wait a minute. What's wrong? Look, the display on the red. There's nothing on it. Huh? Don't you remember? The red at the central staircase. If no one was inside, it said vacant. Oh yeah, you're right. But this one, there's nothing on it. Right. Wonder if it's broken. Only one way to find out. We didn't all have to... It didn't respond. All 4 took turns placing their hands over the red, but it refused to respond. They pulled at the lever and still it did nothing. As they soon discovered, it wasn't only the red for door 8 that was behaving strangely. The red on door 7 also refused to respond. And door 3 was similarly silent. None of them would respond. What did it mean? Ha! I knew it. They're broken. Zero sure sucks at maintenance. No, that's impossible. You really think Zero, who prepared all of this, would make such a stupid simple mistake? Maybe, but that doesn't explain why this thing ain't working. It was at that moment that they heard a voice from behind them. I believe the bottom of the device has been removed. They spun around to see... Snake! But it was more than just Snake. Ace, Clover, and Seven quickly filed into the room as well. Although they were glad to see one another, it wasn't terribly surprising that they had. If it had been the other party who'd opened the gate in front of the kitchen, it wasn't unreasonable that they'd bump into one another eventually. The rest of Snake's team, however, did look rather surprised. How? How did you end up here? Nice. After a moment of silence and surprise, everyone suddenly began to talk, desperate to exchange information. They talked about the rooms they'd been through, how they'd ended up in the same place. Of course, none of it was very useful information, but that hardly mattered. I wonder if they talked about the random-ass sci-fi novels that they remembered reading from 150 years ago. They were happy to simply see one another again. Although the level of cheer varied greatly from person to person, each one of them was wearing some manner of smile. Almost as though they had already forgotten about the death of the 9th man. No, thought Junpei, perhaps that wasn't it. Perhaps thoughts of his death were what drove them to smile at one another. Not in a morbid or hateful way, no. The 9th man had died. But they were still alive. And that was something to be happy about. A sort of simple, uncomplicated joy, Junpei thought. The joy of being alive. Still alive. He felt sorry for the 9th man, but more than anything, Junpei was just happy to be alive. There you have it, our half of the story. His part finished, Ace fell silent. For a moment, Junpei was silent in thought. Then he spoke. Okay, let me see if I've got all this straight. When you guys got here, the bases for the Reds were already gone. And you looked all over this room, but you couldn't find anything. So you figured that there might be something in the hallway with all the doors. So you went and had a look. Yeah. And while you were looking around, you heard voices. Uh-huh. So you followed the voices and came back here. Indeed. And that was how we found you. Junpei examined the 3 Reds again, just in case. On the bottom of each was a long, thin gap. It looked like a slot for something, probably something electronic. Well, this isn't good. If the red isn't active, we can't keep going. Well, what about that hallway over there? Isn't there anywhere else we can go? No, there isn't. There are plenty more hospital rooms, but nothing else. Hospital rooms. That's what's behind all those doors? Yes. There are a number of individual rooms in addition to this large one. There was a door at the end of the hallway, but it was locked. There was an astrological symbol engraved near the keyhole, however. I was able to get a good, feel of it. I believe it was the symbol of Jupiter. Not again. Those goddamn things are everywhere. I wonder what they all mean. For a moment, everyone was silent, deep in thought. While we're asking what things mean, what's the deal with this room? I mean, I thought this was a cruise ship, but I can't imagine a cruise ship would have a hospital like this. Of all people, it was Seven who answered, and with calm confidence. Well, I figure it's probably a hospital ship. Chances are it's the Gigantic. The Gigantic? Junpei looked confused. So did everyone else. So did Jury. What is this Gigantic? Seven knit his brows for a moment, then began to explain. The Gigantic. He explained that she had been a sister ship to the Titanic, built in the early 20th century. The Titanic had two sister ships, who were identical to one another in nearly every aspect. The Gigantic was said to be one of them. She was initially intended to be a passenger liner, like the Titanic, but soon after the ship was launched, the First World War began, and she was pressed into duty by the British Navy as a hospital ship. Sometime later, the Gigantic was damaged by a German mine in the Aegean Sea. She managed to run aground after the incident, and consequently was not sunk. What, then, happened to the Gigantic after her fateful encounter in the Aegean Sea? One theory ran that a man named Lord Gourdane purchased her. Lord Gourdane, it seemed, had been one of the few survivors of the Titanic tragedy, and that trauma had turned him into an obsessive collector of all things related to the Titanic. As his obsession deepened, he began to desire the Titanic itself. That, of course, was impossible. The Titanic lay at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. The Gigantic, however, had not suffered such a dire fate, and as she was identical to her sister ship, she caught Lord Gourdane's eye. So you're saying this Lord Gourdane bought this ship? Yeah. At least I think I am. That's impossible. No way we're in some boat that's almost 100 years old. Pipe down, just pay attention. What, that's it? Well, have you got any proof? Proof? Proof that this ship is really the Gigantic. Well, this ship's got stuff that's like the Titanic, and a hospital ship. So I just figured... Oh, for goodness, don't tell me that's your only reason. No, I've got more. Like? Well, I mean... Seven looked around desperately, doing anything to avoid meeting Lotus's piercing stare. He scratched his head for a moment, then gave up. Finally, he opened his mouth. I dunno. Lotus sighed and shook her head. I guess your memory isn't back yet, is it? Yeah. Sorry about that. Hey, wait a minute. Memory isn't back? Junpei was, he felt, legitimately shocked by what seemed to be new and very important information. Everyone else, however, seemed unimpressed. In fact, they all looked at Junpei as though he had said something very strange. He decided to revise his attitude for the next question. That feels like good advice for like your day-to-day. Revise your attitude. The kind of thing that your shittiest boss would say to you when you had to talk to your shittiest coworker. Let's revise our attitudes, gang. Wait, was I the only one that didn't know? Everyone nodded. Why? Oh, yeah, I guess I didn't tell you. Huh. I told the rest of them before we ran into you on the stairs. I told them I couldn't remember a damn thing from before I woke up. What? Then, almost as if to save Junpei from further embarrassment, A bell began to ring from far away. It sounded as though it was the clock at the main stairway. Junpei counted each chime carefully. 10, 11, 12. It's midnight. Then we've still got 6 hours left, right? We don't have any time to screw around. Let's get going. We gotta find the missing parts for the Reds. What do you mean, fine? How on earth do you propose we do that? We've looked everywhere in this room. That only leaves one place to look. One? Well, I guess that's not really right. Huh? Wait! Don't tell me you mean we need to search all of the other rooms. Don't freak out. We already searched 4 of them. 4 rooms. We just have to split up the rest between the 8 of us. If each person does 6 rooms, that'll be 48 rooms, right? So there are 48 rooms left? Her earlier experiences had apparently not encouraged Lotus to trust Seven. Seven scratched his head awkwardly. I don't know. After a little more discussion, they split up and headed toward the rooms to begin searching them. Junpei was chosen to search the rooms on the starboard side, moving from fore to aft. It's time. They also determined when they would return to report their findings, the next time the clock sounded the time. Oof. When it did, they would meet back in the large central room full of beds. If, during their search, any one of them were to locate the missing components, they were to yell for the others. If this strategy failed, they'd return to discuss their options later. The details decided, they left to begin searching. Out into the hallway they went, each to the rooms they'd been assigned. However, from far away, Junpei heard the bell ring. It did so only once. It was 1 a.m. He jogged through the entrance of the large hospital room to find 6 of the others already there. Ace, Santa, Clover, June, Seven, and Lotus. They had gathered in front of door number 8. Or perhaps, to be accurate, they had gathered in front of the red next to door number 8. Had one of them found the missing piece? What happened, guys? It was June who answered him. Junpei, look. He was pointing at the red. He pushed through the others until he stood in front of it. Immediately he knew what she meant. The display in the front of the red read, vacant. Junpei sighed. Come on, guys, who was it? I thought we're supposed to yell if we found it. Well, Junpei wondered why she was hesitating. The others looked as confused as June, but kept their mouths shut. What the hell? What is up with you guys? They all knew something he didn't, and Junpei wasn't about to leave things that way. Finally, Lotus frowned and spoke. Well, that's the thing. We don't know. You don't know. When I got back, it was already like this. There was no one else here. That means I was the first one back, but the missing parts were already back in the red. Junpei looked at the bottom of the red again just to make sure. The slot that had been open on the bottom was now covered with metal. Clearly, whatever had been missing had been returned. What about the other two? They're the same. Junpei quickly examined the other two boxes. Satisfied that they were also repaired, but still very confused, he returned to the others. Alright, I just want to be sure here. Nobody has any idea what the hell happened here, right? Ace and June nodded silently. Seven raised his hand as if to say, not me. And Santa just shrugged. Only Clover lowered her head and did nothing. Huh? Wait a minute. That was when he noticed. Where's Snake? Junpei swept his eyes across the room a second time, but Snake was nowhere to be seen. Does that mean he found them? I have no idea. There's nothing to suggest it, but nothing to suggest he didn't either. I don't suppose we'll know until we can ask him in person. Well, whatever he did or didn't do, he's pretty damn late. What the hell's he up to? Maybe he's lost. Yeah, well, that seems likely. Dude can't see. I don't know how he gets around in the first place. Clover raised her head. No! That's impossible! Suddenly, she was shouting. Yeah, my brother's blind, but he's got really great hearing. He can get around as well as anyone who can see. So he couldn't get lost. That's impossible. Clover had started to shake, and the knuckles of her hands had gone white. She spun around, but before she did, Junpei noticed tears welling up in her eyes. I'm gonna go look for him. The words were barely out of her mouth when she began to run. Hey! Hold on, Clover, wait! Junpei cried out to her, but he was too slow. She kept going, and before anyone else could react, she was gone. Damn it. What should we do now? Well, the red is working now. No, we're not leaving two people behind. We should go look for them. Oh man, this ain't good. Oh yes, what an excellent idea. We just wasted a bunch of time looking for some piece of electronic junk. Now let's waste some more by looking for a couple of idiots. Then remain here if you feel you must, but there's no time. We've only 5 hours left. Junpei and the others nodded to one another and took off at a run. In front of the stairs that led to B deck, they decided to split up. They quickly assigned search areas and went their separate ways. Soon only 2 of them were left. Those 2 were Junpei and June, who had been a few steps behind the others. Alright, we should go too. Yes, let's go. But where should we start? Let's see. Oh. I'll start in the casino. Screw it. How about the casino on B deck? Okay, sounds good. They took off up the stairs at a run. Before they knew it, they were there. So it's Loria. It's late. She was leaning against the wall, examining her nails. Provocatively. Hey, what do you think you're doing? He glanced up at him unimpressed. Isn't it obvious? I'm looking for Snake. I'm just not seeing it. Really? Maybe you need to look harder. Junpei didn't think that was the problem. Oh, by the way, I've got a proposal for you two. Care to hear it? Yeah, sure. We're all in the market of listening to whatever weird random shit pops into each other's minds. What is it? Well, I don't like to beat around the bush, so I'll get right into it. Why don't we team up? Team up. Yeah. What, you need me to explain it to you? I'm saying, why don't we go through a numbered door? Even if we wanted to, that's impossible. Why? Junpei's bracelet is number 5, mine is 6, and yours is 8. Our digital root would be 1. 5 plus 6 plus 8 equals 19. 9 plus 1 equals 10. 1 plus 0 equals 1. But there's no number 1 door in the large hospital room. The only doors there are 3, 7, and 8. Then we add another person. Huh? Who? What? Isn't that easy? 7. He was right. They added 7. 5 plus 6 plus 8 plus 7 is 26. 2 plus 6 is 8. Then 4 of them could go through the number 8 door. But... well, hold on a sec. What about the other 4? Why don't you add them up? That was simple enough. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 is 10. 1 plus 0 is 1. The digital root for those 4 would be 1. That's right. And you know the number 1 door isn't in the big hospital room, right? Of course I know that. No. Are you saying you'd leave them behind? Of course not. What kind of woman do you think I am? Once we get off the ship, we could come back and rescue them, couldn't we? Then we wouldn't really be leaving them behind. Don't try to lie to us. I don't think you'd do anything of the sort. Really? Why do you think that? You remember, don't you? We have less than 5 hours left. Even if we manage to escape, there's no way we could come back to rescue them in less than 5 hours. Well, you never know until you try. No. You're not thinking this through. Even if we brought 7 with us, we wouldn't be able to get off the ship. The 4 of us couldn't open door 9. It is hidden, but an exit can be found. Seek a way out. Seek a door that carries a 9. Yeah. Huh? Yeah, that's right. The digital root for us 4 will be 8, so we'd have to add ace to make 9. Right. Unless we bring ace 2, we'll be stuck. Lotus scratched the back of her ear. Oh, Well, that's unfortunate. She didn't sound particularly bothered by what Junpei said, nor did she seem particularly surprised. Well, let's try and find another way, okay? A way to get out of here with all 8 of us. That's impossible. Are you being serious? You do know that only 5 people at most can go through one of the numbered doors, right? The number 9 isn't going to be an exception to that rule. Regardless, at least 3 people will get left behind. You're right. That is true. The moment he said it, Junpei felt a chill run down his spine. It was true. How Lotus could remain cavalier about so terrifying a prospect was beyond him. When they found the number 9, they would have to choose which 3 of them would die. Lotus's forehead furrowed. Do you think I can have a moment alone? There are some things I need to think about. Junpei and June turned and began walking away from Lotus. Talking to her had left them feeling ill. Junpei's heart felt heavy and his steps sluggish. But, he told himself, pessimism would get them nowhere. So he forced himself to smile and turned to June. Let's just focus on finding Snake for now, okay? Yes, you're right. We can think about those other things later. Junpei nodded. Alright, where should we go next? If you're gonna be like this, well then. Rather than answer that question, I'm gonna ask a question of my own, which is, would you like to overwrite the save file? And the answer is yes. Follow-up question, would you like to quit? The answer, you'll be stunned to learn, is yes. And I'm off.